This is Cigar Box Nation TV for June 28th, 2016. It's what we're calling How To Tuesday. Every Tuesday at noon. We do these broadcasts every day at noon, by the way, every weekday. But every Tuesday, we're specifically going to show you how to do something. And today, the topic is fretting. We're going to do a series of fretting how-to. We're going to walk you through each step. Now, I know that might sound boring. Like, oh, God, he's going to get the whiteboard out. Well, no. Last time I used a whiteboard, Shane Spiel told me, if you do that again, I'm driving up there and I'm going to smack you. So no whiteboards. Got a bunch of instruments here I'm going to be playing to show you why fretting is important, why you might want to fret your cigar box guitar, and how it's not as hard as you might think. So I actually wrote a song about fretting to commemorate this special event. And by the way, my name is Ben C.B. Gitty Baker. We're broadcasting from the Gitty Juke Shack here up in New Hampshire. So here's a little song I wrote. I don't know, I just got back from Nashville a couple of days ago, so I've been in a country mood. So here is Don't Fret About Fretting. Don't fret about fretting, it really ain't that bad. Though it can get a little tricky, there's no need to get mad. There's nothing wrong with slide playing, but I think we know it's true. If you want to take your guitars to the next level, fretting is for you. Now, a good friend of mine, Shane Spiel, has been building cigar box guitars for a long time. And for the first 20 years or so of that cigar box guitar building, he did exclusively slide. He didn't want to try fretting. Well, a year or two ago, he finally bit the bullet, got some parts and tools from us, and had a go at it. And now he mostly builds fretted instruments. He'll still do slide on occasion, because he's a heck of a slide player. But he is a good testament to not thinking you can fret and finding out that you can, and just how good it is. So I'm gonna do that song again for Shane Spiel. Don't fret about fretting, it really ain't that bad. Though it can get a little tricky, there's no need to get mad. Though there's nothing wrong with slide playing, I think we know it's true. If you want to take your guitars to the next level, fretting is for you. Alright, there you go. A little bit of fretting music played on a fretted cigar box guitar. So, there you go. And actually, I'm going to keep working on this song. I want to try to add a verse every week, because we're going to have 3 or 4 parts of this How to Fret shenanigans on Cigar Box Nation TV here. So stay tuned. That song's going to grow. All right. So why would you want to fret your cigar box guitar? You've been building slide. You're happy with slide. What's the problem? Why do you want to change? Well, there's a couple of good reasons. Slide guitar is awesome. Slide guitar is great. You can make music on a slide guitar or cigar box guitar that you pretty much can't make any other way. But fretting makes a guitar, first off, if you're trying to sell your creations, if it has frets on the neck, it looks more like a real, or I would say it looks more like a conventional guitar to somebody who might not know anything about cigar box guitars. So that is an item of familiarity. They'll look at that and say, oh, okay, it's got frets, it's a guitar, and then it's a matter of what 3 strings, what's it tuned to and all of that. But frets make it more comfortable, make it more familiar, and a person who knows how to play a conventional guitar will be able to pick it up and start noodling around a little bit on it without much problem. So it's that familiarity. And also, as I said before, there are things you can do on slide that you can't do any other way. Well, there are things you can do on a fretted guitar that you can't do on a slide guitar. Complex chord forms. It broadens the range of music you can play. So adding frets is a great way, and it kind of ups the scale, you could say, of your build. If you're trying to sell them or donate them or whatever, it makes a little more valuable, a little more higher end build. So fretting can be a good thing. Not necessary. You don't have to if you don't want to, no problem, but it can be a good thing. So the first question we have is scale length. If you're talking about fretting, and honestly, even if you're not, scale length is important. And what is it? And we've got a camera set up over here for kind of a close-up view. And we're going to see if we can bring that in now. All right, so scale length. At the top of the neck, we have a nut. This thing up here that the strings go over is called the nut. And then the strings come down and they go over another thing here called the bridge. The distance between those 2 points, if we bring it back to the wide view here, Nick, the distance between those 2 points are what make up the scale length of the instrument. And on any guitar you might have, or cigar box guitar you've built or bought, let me get my handy dandy ruler unfolded here. We got a peeping Tom out there on the other side of the window, Noel. So if I measure this, this is 25.5 inches, which is kind of one of the big standard scales for cigar box, or not cigar box guitars, for any guitar. 25.5 inches, it's the scale that Fender uses for Telecasters and Stratocasters. It's the scale that this old Alvarez that I Frankensteined used. So that's a common scale length. Now, scale length determines where the frets go. It's all based on a mathematical formula, but fortunately, you don't have to worry about that mathematical formula if you don't want to, as I'll show you in a moment. So, scale length. 25.5 inches, standard or conventional guitar scale. So at that scale length, with using the appropriate strings, you have a range of tones and pitches that correspond with what people think of as guitar. Now, if you go with a shorter scale length, like on this ukulele right here, that I realize I did not properly tune before going live, but that's all right. Shorter scale, higher pitch. So a ukulele, this is only 15 inches from nut to bridge. So it has a higher pitch. Now something with a longer scale, like, oh, I don't know, maybe a bass guitar, like this 2-string cigar box bass that we featured on a previous episode, longer scale, lower pitch. So if you want a bass, let me see if I can get this plugged in here. Nothing heavy. This is a live broadcast. Very little rehearsal goes into this, so sometimes things work well and sometimes they don't. So, bass, this is 30-inch scale, and they get even bigger, up to 34 inches. And nice big strings, low pitch. So the longer the scale, the lower the pitch. The shorter the scale, the higher the pitch. Get my amp turned back down there. All right, so ukulele, guitar, bass, you see how the scale length changes and is used for different things. Now, even on an unfretted guitar, let me get this acoustic out of the way here, or even on an unfretted instrument, scale length matters, because that distance from nut to bridge is always going to determine where the notes that you want are going to fall on the strings. Whether frets are there or not, the mathematical rule applies. So, as an example of that, I brought in this diddly bow that we built on an episode last week, week before. They all start to run together after a while. So I'm going to plug this in, crank her up a little bit, and then we're going to take a look at scale length. Now on this diddly bow, if you watched that episode I did when I built it, I didn't measure anything. There were no rulers involved. We just put it together, shoved some bottles under there, and made it work. Now, get that turned up a little bit here, get a little bit of good stuff going. All right. But even on this, single string, no measuring, scale length matters, and I'll show you why. There are certain places on this string where you get certain notes. those notes happen in those places? It comes down to scale length. If we measure, using our handy dandy fold out ruler, if we measure the vibrating length of the string, nut to bridge, it's like 27.5 inches, which happens to be Shane Spiel's preferred baritone guitar scale length. But let's not get into that. So that length determines where on this string certain notes happen. Call them the 1, 4, 5, call it whatever you want. I made marks on this neck. I don't know if you can see them on here, but I made little dots with a Sharpie to show where those places are to make it easier to play. So scale length determines that. It's very important. Alright, so enough diddly bow. That shows you scale length applies fretted, unfretted, slide, whatever. Okay, let me get my diddly bow out of the way here. Single string instrument made out of an old, I don't know what, that was a ladder rail. Okay, shorter scale, higher pitch, longer scale, lower pitch. The mathematical formula, if you are doing something wacky, or maybe like that diddly bow, you just do it and then later you think, I need to mark some frets out on this thing. Where are they? Where should they go? We have a fretting calculator for free on cigarboxguitar.com that you can use to determine where the frets should go. So you'd measure from nut to bridge like I did on that diddly bow. Say, okay, 27.5 inches. You'd go onto the fret calculator, type in 27.5, and it'll show you first fret goes here at 1.635 inches, and the second fret goes here and on down. So you can figure these things out and make it work. Fortunately, you don't have to. We have created some tools at Gitty, available through cbgitty.com. I think Shane will paste a link in for you there. And by the way, if you have any questions that come up during this, we might not be able to get at them. Nick, if you just leave it on the main camera and go to the Facebook screen, you might be able to see some pop up there. We have fretting scale templates that basically show you exactly where things go for different scale lengths. I brought 2 in. This template goes from 24 inch up to 25.5 inch. So you got 24, 24.5, 25, 25.5. Then I brought the shorter one in that covers from soprano up through concert ukulele, which this is, 15 inch, and a couple of mandolin scales. So now I'm going to show you how you would use those. All right, get my notes out of the way here. So I've got a couple of sample or, scrap necks. These are necks that we had out in the shop that had something wrong with them. So to make use of a template, on this longer neck, this would be like for a full scale cigar box guitar, we'll do 25 inches. You'll see on this template here, we've got the 25-inch scale right here, third from the top. So basically, if I line this up, and I should say first that over here on this edge is where the nut is marked, and then the frets are marked from there. So you always need to know where you're going to put your nut on a neck. Now on this one, Nick, maybe switch over to this camera here so I can get a little bit better close-up. On this neck here, the nut, because we did a recessed headstock, here we go. You see that's a recessed or notched down headstock. The nut's going to be right up here on top of the neck, or it's going to be right here glued in if you're going to do a bone nut set in there. So, let's see, try to keep this in the shot here. So on this one, say I'm going to glue in a bone or a wood nut right down here at the top of the headstock. I would take my neck here, 25-inch scale, and put it so that the inside edge of the nut marker on this template is right where I want the inside edge of the nut to be on the headstock. So the neck side or the body edge of where the nut's going to be. Because remember, scale length is the total vibrating length of the screen from nut to bridge. All right, so then I've got it lined up here where the edge of the nut will be, and then I can just mark my fret locations. Hopefully you can see this in the camera. We're doing our best to bring it in. So I'm going to mark these fret locations right onto the wood with a pencil. And depending on how big your cigar box is or where the body is going to be will kind of determine how many frets that you'll have. I'm going to go up through the, what is that, the 17th. I'll go up to the 19th fret. Why not? So now I have a neck marked. Probably can't see the marks on there, but trust me, it's marked. And then you can use a tool like a square. I have a machinist square here, and you can line it up like so, and just kind of score your fret marks across there based on those marks you made. Okay. Get those on there. Now at this point, if you were building a slide cigar box guitar, you still probably would want to do this, because having the frets marked out on a slide guitar makes it a lot easier to find where to put the slide. So we go back to that camera there, because I happen to have a slide here and an unfretted cigar box guitar built by our own Glenn Watt. Now this one has pretty low action, but it has no frets. But you can see on there are scored lines. I believe he used wood filler in slots there to denote where the frets would be. So if you So even on unfretted guitars, it can be nice to have the frets marked out, like I just did here with a pencil on this neck. So let me put this back down, like so. Put my slide down, not in the way hopefully. Alright, so at this point, this neck is ready to slot. And by the way, we're going to be covering fret slotting next week on How To Tuesday. So this neck is fretted, ready to slot. Now these templates that we sell also have some dots on them. If you can see, there are some dots that come up the fretboard on some key frets there. Take a look there on the close-up side cam. And those dots notate some key frets, some important frets. The 3rd, the 5th, the 7th, the 9th, the 12th, and on up. So you can also use this template, since we got it here, line the nut up, and you can just kind of make a little notation in there with your pencil. And then later you can go back, you can wood burn it in there, you can drill and set in some fret location markers, whatever you want to do. But those are a big help. Those are a big help when playing for a slide player, because just a quick glance show you where to take that slide to hit the note you want. I suppose people been playing slide their whole life, don't need them anymore, but for a duffer like me who doesn't even really play slide, it's helpful to get it right where you want. So that was a 25-inch scale. Now on this little neck here, this might be if we're building a ukulele, because ukuleles have shorter necks. This one is a concert scale uke, which has a 15-inch scale. That means 15 inches from nut to bridge. This one's even shorter, so I think I would use like a soprano ukulele scale, or even could do a mandolin scale if I wanted, the Gibson F-style mandolin or the A-style. So again on this, first you would determine where you want your nut to be. So on this neck here, there we go. Got tuner holes drilled there, and then a line marked. This is where the nut will be. This will be the forward edge of the nut, where the string leaves the nut and heads towards the bridge. That's the one we always start from. So I would line this up on my template here, and we'll do let's go with the the Gibson F style mandolin scale here. Line my nut line up. Is that in there? Yeah. Line my nut line up right there, and then make those marks just like I did on that other one. You know, we say very often that there are no rules when it comes to cigar box guitars. And there really aren't. You can do whatever you want. Try it, see if it works. But when it comes to fretting, when it comes to scale, if your frets are in the wrong places, that's hard to recover from. That's one of the, I won't call it a rule, I'll call it a strong guideline, that if you're going to make fret marks on there, getting them in the right place is pretty important if somebody's going to be playing this guitar regularly or at all. Alright, so same thing on this neck, now much shorter scale. Shorter scale means the frets are closer together. Longer scale means they're further apart. Alright, so we can bring it back to the wide angle there. And the same thing on this. I make my, using a square of any sort and a pencil, I like to extend my fret lines all the way across the neck, like so. And then next week, I'm going to keep these two necks that I've marked here. I'm going to keep them in here, and next week on How To Tuesday, I'm going to show you different ways to cut the slots, using different saws, using miter boxes, not using miter boxes. So this is part one of demystifying fretting. Scale lengths and marking your neck. All right. So there it's marked, and those frets are a lot closer together than they are on this longer scale one I did earlier. Now, that's using our printed templates. We have something at CB Gitty that makes it even easier, and I won't go through the whole thing with it, but these are laser cut acrylic templates that have these slots cut here. I think my pencil might be too dull now to get through the slot, but that's all right. Basically what you do with these, they've got a bigger slot cut for the nut up here at the top, and then each fret has its slot, and we even have the location marker dots there. So say this was a fretboard for a cigar box guitar that I wanted to fret, and I knew that the nut was going to rest right up here at the top edge. I come in for the close-up on this, Nick. I'd like to thank Nick Lanciano for sitting in as cameraman here again today, video producer. So, let's see, make sure we're in the docket here. All right.
And I'd like to apologize, we're having comment issues. I know Shane has covered it in the...
Yeah, Shane Spiel's on deck answering questions, hopefully. Yeah, all right. So I'm going to line up the nut slot, which you can see up here, it's the wider slot, with the very top of the fretboard, the top edge. Line that up, and I'm going to do a hillbilly pencil sharpening here. See if we can get that to work. Might do it. So with that lined up, all I've got to do is get that pencil through there, down each of these slots. However many frets I want to add on this instrument. This is 25-inch scale length right here. So it's the same scale length that I did by hand with the printed template. And like I say, these acrylic templates also have the position holes marked. So you can get that lined up on there and even come in here, and if you were, just doing it simple, you could use a Sharpie or something to get in there and make your position markers. So that's using our acrylic templates. We have them in all sorts of different scale lengths, but you don't need them. They're nice. Go back to the wide angle there, Nick. The templates are nice, but you really don't need them. Like I say, there are free resources available on cigarboxguitar.com, cigarboxnation.com. You can do all of this with pretty much a yardstick if you're good at estimating minute measurements. You can do it with a yardstick and a pencil and a machinist square, or just a regular carpenter square if you want to. So that, a couple more things I need to cover here. We covered nut location. The other thing is bridge location, depending on your scale length. This one, if you remember, was 25-inch scale length, which is, I consider it a standard for cigar box guitars. That means the bridge is going to be exactly 25 inches from the nut. So on this one, we determined that up here, the nut was going to be right there. So I'm measuring 25 inches is right down here. So if you're making a cigar box guitar, I don't have a cigar box handy. Oh yeah, there's one. Why not? So if you're making a cigar box guitar with this neck, you've got to think about where that bridge is going to end up. Right now it's marked right here. That's 25 inches from nut to bridge. So you couldn't mount this neck like that on this box because the bridge would be off the end of the box and that would not be good. So you position this neck on this box. Generally you don't want it too close to the back edge because remember that bridge is what vibrates. It gives the string vibration to the box lid, which gives you your sound. So generally you would try to position that so that it's an inch or two in from any edge of the box. And that's where your bridge will end up going on the box lid once this thing's put together. So the nut location and the scale length determines where the frets go and where the bridge will go. And that's pretty much it. It's all I had written down there. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was informative. As I say, this is How To Tuesday on Cigar Box Nation TV, the first of a several-part series. I don't know if it'll be 3 or 4 parts yet, on fretting, demystifying fretting, showing you why fretting is a good thing, how you can do it, how you can add it to your cigar box guitars to take them to the next level. And like I say, that song I sang at the beginning, going to be adding some verses to that. And I think that's about all we've got for today. Although, you know, I'll take you out with a song because I've been doing a lot of talking. And Shane tells me always end with a song. And we get comments from our more forward live broadcast viewers telling us shut up and play something, and we appreciate the kind comments. All right. Well, as I say, I just got back from Nashville, Tennessee. An amazing city full of amazing people and, of course, amazing music. And I've been in a country music kick, and I've always been a big fan of Johnny Cash. So I'm going to do one that Chris Christopherson wrote for him on the cigar box guitar. I've been practicing this, but I haven't done it live, so we're going to see how this goes. Chris Christopherson turned 80 years old not long ago. Just kind of hard to believe, but he and Willie are a couple of the few old school guys still left. Well, I woke up Sunday morning with no way to hold my head that didn't hurt. And the beer I had for breakfast wasn't bad, so I had one more for dessert. Then I fumbled in my closet, threw my clothes and found my cleanest dirty shirt. Then I washed my face and combed my hair, tumbled down the stairs to meet the day. I'd smoked my mind the night before with cigarettes and songs I'd been picking. But I lit my first and watched a young kid playing with a can he was kicking. Then I walked across the street and caught the Sunday smell of someone's frying chicken. Lord, it took me back to something I lost somewhere, somehow along the way. On a Sunday morning sidewalk, but I'm wishing, Lord, that I was stoned. 'Cause there's something in a Sunday that makes the body feel alone. And there's nothing short of dying that's half as lonesome as the sound of a sleeping city sidewalk and Sunday morning coming down. In the park I saw a daddy with a laughing little girl he was swinging. And I stopped beside a Sunday school and listened to the songs they were singing. Then I headed down the street and somewhere far away a lonely bell was ringing. And it echoed through the canyons like disappearing dreams of yesterday. On a Sunday morning sidewalk, I'm wishing, Lord, that I was stoned, 'cause there's something in a Sunday that makes the body feel alone. And there's nothing short of dying that's half as lonesome as the sound of a sleeping city sidewalk and Sunday morning coming down. I'd like to send that one out to my dad, who first introduced me to that song, and it's one of his favorites too. Played on the open G 3-string GDG cigar box guitar. This is one of our 2-cent Jennies. It's tuned to high G for that more trebly mountain music kind of sound. And that's all we got for you today. Hope you enjoyed it. And also want to send a shout out to our favorite lady, Farley Andreessen, who is out ill today. Hope she's feeling better soon. So, signing out, Cigar Box Nation TV, Ben Gitty Baker here. We'll see you tomorrow. Shane Spiel will be doing something good for down in York, Pennsylvania. Keep on building.